Hi there, welcome to No Comment. I'm Daniel, and today we're going to be taking a listen to The Terminator. It's debated whether or not this is a true horror film, and personally I would say that it is. It's got strong action sci-fi elements, but if you replace Arnold with any other character like Freddy or Jason, it's just another slasher film. James Cameron even said that he thought it was a straight-up horror film while he was making it, and it wasn't until its release when people started telling him they thought it was more of an action film. It blends these genres together so well, which is part of what makes it such an iconic film. It's a great concept with memorable scenes and no shortage of quotable lines. But today we'll be looking at what makes the score work so well for this film, so let's take a listen. The plot of the film follows Arnold Schwarzenegger as the titular Terminator. He's sent back in time from the year 2029 to kill Sarah Connor, the would-be mother of John Connor, who eventually causes the downfall of the machines. The music follows a similar plot. We're first introduced to the persistent machine before being rescued by the synth melody that overtakes it. It's cautious, and much like Kyle Reese, it suddenly appears without drawing too much attention to itself. The juxtaposition in the music is the perfect representation of human versus machine. The theme begins sounding like an early Tool demo with a focus on industrial-sounding percussion. A distant rhythm plays between two drums, giving a sense that somewhere there are machines at work. A syncopated bass drum motif plays every few bars, providing a sense of urgency and a reminder of the human's constant state of alarm. The instrumentation here has a huge impact on the sound of the music, and therefore the tone of the film that follows. The percussion is deliberately low and metallic. There's no use of a snare drum despite its militaristic qualities. The only high-pitched percussion used at all was made by hitting a frying pan on the head of the microphone to sound like molding metal. Just imagine what this could have sounded like with different percussion. Even when it comes to percussion, the instrumentation is important. In contrast, a calm synth pad plays a simple chord progression in E-flat minor underneath the quiet percussion. The progression focuses mostly on C-flat and D-flat major chords, with the last chord giving us a heroic suspension, ultimately resolving on E-flat minor. A slow lyrical melody then appears over top the chords. There's no build-up into it, no swell in the music, no change in the rhythm, no cue of any kind to indicate its arrival. It's suddenly there as if it were somewhere in the background all along, and only now are we able to hear it through the pounding percussion. The synth effect used for the chords and the melody is very legato and understated. Given the circumstances in the movie are centered around war with machines, you would expect the music to be a little bit more bombastic. Looking back at the music of the 80s, it's kind of impressive it didn't end up sounding like this. For as simple as this theme is, when it comes down to putting it on the page, it becomes about as convoluted as the timeline for this series. It can be written a couple of different ways, the first of which is in 13/16, meaning we have 13 16th notes per bar. The phrasing for the percussion parts fits into this nicely. However, looking ahead to the synth parts, the melody is clearly outlining 2-bar phrases, or 26 16th notes in total. Using simplification, it would be easiest to write the synth parts out in 13/8 like this. Unfortunately, the percussion part doesn't fit into this quite as well. Ultimately, I would choose to write this in 13/16 because it emphasizes the phrasing of the percussion, which is the foundation of the entire theme. So technically, both of these parts take place within the same amount of time, but they don't fit in entirely well with each other's time signatures. There are two conflicting ideas here, each of them ignoring the time the other is so adamantly trying to pursue. Each of these parts are out of time with each other and placed somewhere they don't belong. I would love to believe that composer Brad Fiedel did this intentionally to reflect the out-of-time nature of the film. However, it seems like it was all just a mistake and I'm reading way too deep into this. Apparently, he intended to write it in a simpler time signature like 7/8, but messed up the loop while recording. He decided to keep it anyway, not realizing what time signature he was in. In later films, they would change this to a simpler time signature of 12/8, probably because it wasn't as annoying to count. Thanks for watching my decomposition on the Terminator theme. Let me know in the comments what other scores you'd like me to take a look at and what genres you'd like me to cover them in. Next week I'll be doing something a little bit different, so be sure to check in for that. Until then, here's what the Terminator theme could have sounded like if it actually were written by Tool.